All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing today? Look at this day we've got. Anybody been up here before for Memorial Day? You guys know how hot it can get, right? Is this awesome or what? A little cloud, Pacific Ocean breeze. Want to welcome everybody to our ceremony today. Welcome you to the iconic Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial overlooking beautiful La Jolla, sunny San Diego. My name is Jason Austell. I'm a local guy, and I cannot tell you how honored I am to be here with you today. And I'm so glad to look out and see all these patriots, the veterans, everybody who's come out to celebrate this Memorial Day with us. We got an amazing crowd, and I'm excited. We got a lot of elected officials here. We have military leaders on hand today, supporting family members, and our many military veterans in the audience, which we can see. Just all you have to do is look around, especially our sailors and family members of the USS Cole. You guys are great. Give yourselves a round of applause, please. This is awesome. I got to do this. I'm not a big social media guy, but I can't pass this up, man. Can't get y'all in though. Can all you guys kind of scooch this way? All right. Thank you. All right. We're gonna try to keep this to about an hour. Just in starting, my father was a U.S. Navy captain, 34 years, aviator type, and Vietnam F-4s, and then transitioned to the F-14 Tomcat when I was a kid coming out of Vietnam. He actually tested the weapon system up in Point Mugu, and then he commanded a fighter squadron, one of the early F-14 squadrons, right down the hill here at Naval Air Station Miramar. Nothing against the Marines, but it was Naval Air Station Miramar. Ooh, yeah, I got you. I'm feeling you. It's all good. It's all nothing but love here today. But it was an amazing way to grow up, being a military kid. And about 15 years ago, my two brothers and I got together, and we decided, I said, hey, man, we have got to get Dad up here on the Mount Soledad Memorial. And so we went through the process. If you've not done this for a loved one, I cannot tell you how much it's worth it. And so I went through the process, and part of the process was getting a copy of my dad's DD-214, right? Discharge papers. So I call him up. He says, what in the world do you possibly need that for? I said, you got to trust me, Dad. So he's got me a copy and went down to the office, and they put it all together, and the plaque came out amazing. I mean, amazing. I just saw it again right over here on the upper wall on the southwest corner. And so he lives up in Sacramento. He came down for a visit. I made sure my brothers were at the house. We lived right down the hill here. And we brought him up here. We walked him up here. He didn't know anything. It was a complete surprise to him. And we walked to the wall, and I said, Dad, look, there's his plaque. Awesome plaque. And he gets this look on his face. He's just incredulous. He's looking at the plaque going, looking at me, looking at the plaque, looking at me. I said, Dad, what's wrong? He goes, don't I have to be dead? I said, no, Dad. He looked at the plaque again, looked at me, looked at the plaque. He's like, are you sure I don't have to be dead? I said, no, Dad, it's all good. So every time he comes down, we come up here and we visit his plaque, and it's just an awesome experience. So I would encourage everybody to look into that opportunity to be a part of this amazing memorial. For nearly 250 years, the United States Navy has played a vital role in securing the world's maritime commons, ensuring the sea lanes remain open and free for global commerce. From the Barbary Wars to present-day carrier strike group deployments, the Navy's forward presence deters aggression, safeguards international trade routes, and upholds the principle of freedom of navigation. In doing so, it not only protects American economic interests, but also underpins the stability and prosperity of the global economy. Today, we'll have a very few special guests talk to us about that importance and the bravery of those that served aboard USS Cole that October day in the year 2000. So come with us, just like we're going to keep this to about an hour, but we're going to learn a little more, celebrate with our fellow veterans, commemorate our fallen warriors, and as always, honor our great nation. It is now my pleasure to introduce Neil O'Connell, Mount Soledad Memorials Association's Executive Director, to kick off our Veterans Day event. Sergeant Major O'Connell, United States Marine Corps, served for more than 33 years in numerous operations and military campaigns. He has served with the Mount Soledad Memorial Association Board of Trustees since September 2012. Many members of his family are here with us, too. It's great to see them. Please join me in welcoming Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial Association's President, Neil O'Connell, to the podium.
Hey, Jason, you're doing great. Thank you. One of our own here, Jason Ostell. Isn't he smooth? I'm going to have to do my best to keep on line with Jason. But good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I'd ask you to please stand as we invite the United States Marines from the Marine Corps Recruit Depot to present the colors. Today's color sergeant is led by Sergeant John Rubio. Color Guard, present the colors. We are now pleased to welcome our 2023-24 Mount Soledad Veteran of the Year, Harvey Stewart. I'd ask Harvey to join me at the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Harvey has served honorably in the United States Army. His devoted husband to his wife Karen and his beautiful family here, 50 years. He's put in thousands of hours here, has been on our docent team for 14 years, participates in many community activities throughout the greater San Diego community. Harvey? Yeah. Right there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Harvey. Can't thank you enough for all that you do. Also at this time, I'd like to ask Alyssa Sheridan to join me to sing our national anthem. Alyssa is a Gold Star family member. In fact, I know her stepdad, Gunnery Sergeant Floyd Hawley, a wonderful man. We are very honored to have you here, and as she finishes, please take a look to the skies behind me as our San Diego Salute Formation team fly over. Come on down, Alyssa. There you go.
Okay if I hold it?
You might not want.
Okay. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Alyssa. You did fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alyssa. I'm not certain if it's true or not, but I understand you may have been on the voice program as well.
A decade ago.
Received some honors there. Please remain standing as the color guard retires the colors. Color guard, retired the colors. Looks like we're right on time, huh? They coming back? At this time, I'd ask our chaplain, Lieutenant Commander Gohagan, to join us. He's a native of El Monte, California. He earned his Master of Divinity degree from the Golden State Baptist Theological Seminary in May 2000, and he served with U.S. Navy and United States Marine units for more than 20 years of civilian ministry. The chaplain became the command chaplain at the Naval Base Point Loma last year. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Chaplain.
Pray with me. Almighty God, we thank you, as always, for the opportunity to come together today to remember those who've paid the ultimate price and for all who have served to allow us the freedoms that we cherish in our great nation. We dedicate this time as we gather together in this solemn moment on this hallowed ground because those who've gone before us are ever present with us, and we honor their memory and their service. On this Memorial Day, it's with a deep sense of gratitude for the brave men and women that have served our nation in all branches that bring us here. We are forever and eternally grateful for their sacrifice. Lord, as you remind us in your Holy Scriptures that greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friend. These who we memorialize today not only laid down their lives for a friend, but for a grateful nation and a people that are able to enjoy true freedom because of their sacrificial act. Father, I ask that you will be ever present, not only in today's ceremony, with each person who is in attendance, each person who has participation, but I also pray that beyond, you will comfort those who need comfort, encourage those who need to be encouraged, and Father, strengthen those who need strength, and let us never forget. For I pray and ask all these things in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Very nice. Thank you very much, Chaplain. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. While I look out here at this wonderful crowd today, and I was remarking with the team earlier, each year these Memorial Day and Veterans Day ceremonies seem to get larger. So I want to thank you dearly, and I can't thank you enough, for taking the time out of your day on Memorial Day and share this special day as we honor those sailors of the USS Cole and one of our own from San Diego. On behalf of the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial, I want to take a moment to just reflect on Memorial Day, what it means to us who operate this memorial and our supporters here and you. We reflect and remember and renew our commitment to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. But before I really get into the heart and soul of Memorial Day, I'd ask you to just take a second with me, please, and join me in thanking some officers that are sitting here wearing the uniform of our San Diego Fire Department and our Police Department, and many that are sitting in the seats, and some here to the right and left, for their quick response and brave, courageous service at the recent Murphy Canyon Military Housing airplane crash. Gentlemen, we salute you. We thank you for keeping our city safe, protecting us, and taking care of us. We cannot thank you enough. And I know Mayor Gloria will probably have a word or two, but sir, you represent the leadership of our city. And Chiefs Wall, Chief Logan, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Today we pause to remember all who have laid down their lives in service to our country. Since 1954, when these bricks were put together here and this beautiful circular memorial was created and the cross was erected, this memorial has stood as a steadfast tribute to the men and women who have given everything so that we may live in freedom and so others may have an opportunity to live in freedom as well. Each name etched here on these plaques, on these walls, tells a story of courage, devotion, and selflessness. It is a story that continues each and every day, and we continue to pride ourselves with our wonderful docents who share their stories with the public. Many of these men and women that are on these walls, their sacrifices help this nation shape itself to what it is today. As we go back all the way to the Civil War to present day global war on terror. So this Memorial Day, we give special remembrance to one of our own, Seaman Lakiba Nicole Palmer. Lakiba Palmer and the sailors were mortally wounded 25 years ago this October on attack on the USS Cole. On that day, the Cole was refueling in the port of Aden in Yemen when a small boat laden with explosives approached her port side, and in an instant, a violent act of terrorism by al-Qaeda terrorists shattered the stillness of the day and took 17 brave Americans. Seaman Palmer was just 22 years old, a young woman with a bright future, like many who followed in the footsteps of those before her, who came out of the communities to join this service. She elected the Navy, San Diego High School graduate, lived very close to the naval station. She wore that uniform with pride, and she carried the values of honor, courage, and commitment in her heart. Her loss and the loss of her shipmates was a blow that not just to the families and their shipmates, but to all Americans. Over the course of this morning's program, you will hear intimately, firsthand experience and the stories of what took place that morning from that attack. And yet, what our enemies failed to understand was that such an attack would not break us, nor did it weaken our spirit. It did not shake our belief in freedom whatsoever, at all. And it did not stop the resolve of our armed forces or the will of our people to defend the great nation that we so love and cherish. Instead, it reminded us, painfully but powerfully, that freedom is never free, that democracy is not inherited. It is earned, protected, and passed down through the sacrifice of those willing to defend it. Today we remember Seaman Palmer, not only for how she died, but for how she lived. She lived with service in her soul and in her heart. And we remember the USS Cole crew who stood in the face of chaos and upheld the values that define our Navy and our nation. We remember them not with silence, but with action, by living lives worthy of their sacrifice, by standing for liberty when it is challenged, and by continuing to honor the fallen, not just in word, but in deed. As we stand here beneath this beautiful American flag overlooking the ocean, so many have crossed that beautiful Pacific before us in defense of our country. Let us recommit ourselves to the cause for which they died. May we always remember, may we always honor, and may we always be worthy of their sacrifices. Thank you all. God bless our fallen heroes. God bless the United States of America. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Jason? Thank you, Jason.
That was great. All right. Thank you, Neil. That was great. Okay. Now, our next speaker. Man, I've known this guy for a while. So great to see him outside of work. Mayor Todd Gloria is the 37th mayor of the city of San Diego. He's a graduate of the University of San Diego, and he's a third-generation San Diego. The trustees of the Memorial Association always appreciate his support, so please welcome San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria.
Jason, thank you for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. Neil, thank you for the invitation, as always, to be here with you and the trustees of this beautiful place, and for your enduring leadership and care of this incredible national shrine. And also, thank you for your kind words about the men and women of the San Diego Police Department and the San Diego Fire and Rescue Department. I hope that you all know, I think this crowd would know, we live in the safest big city in the United States of America, and what you saw on Thursday morning is why. So thank you to every single one of the men and women of both those departments. I'm very, very proud of our city team and the work that they did to preserve life and property Thursday morning. It's an honor to stand here with all of you today, gathered at the foot of Mount Soledad, a place where our community comes to reflect, to grieve, and most importantly, to remember. Memorial Day is more than just a date on the calendar. It's a solemn reminder that the freedoms that we enjoyed were paid for by those who gave everything in service to our nation. This year's ceremony holds a very special meaning as we honor one of San Diego's own, Lakiba Palmer. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the Palmer family who is here with us today. I appreciate you being here. I can't even begin to imagine the pain that you still continue to feel to this very single day, to lose a loved one so young and so full of promise and so committed to service to her nation. Please know that the city of San Diego and the entire nation recognizes not only Lakiba's sacrifice, but that of all of you as well. In just a few moments, we'll hear from Captain Peter Schmidt, who served as the USS Cole's executive officer during that attack, and Commanding Master Chief James Parlier, the ship's senior enlisted leader. Their presence today brings us closer to the reality of that very tragic day and the extraordinary acts of courage, leadership, and resilience that followed. In the chaos that followed the blast on the USS Cole, sailors, many of whom were wounded, many of whom were in shock, moved quickly to save one another, to contain fires, to treat injuries, and to keep the ship afloat. Their heroism was not accidental. It was the product of rigorous training, an unshakable discipline, and a deep and abiding commitment to each other and to our nation. Their response is now studied across the Navy, not just as a moment of tragedy, but as a model of what American courage looks like. What happened aboard the Cole did not break or weaken us. It made our military stronger. It made us more prepared, and it has reminded the world that what our service members are made of. And so today, San Diego, we remember Lakiba. We remember her shipmates. We remember those who have given their lives for the liberty, justice, and democracy that we enjoy. And we honor them, not just by showing up today, but how we choose to live our lives every day. We honor them by cherishing the freedoms that they defended. We honor them by being better neighbors and by being better citizens. And we honor them by standing united, because division weakens the very ideals that they died to protect. And that brings me to something also important but somewhat difficult. As many of you know, Mount Soledad was recently targeted by a cruel act of vandalism. This memorial is sacred ground. It holds the stories of those who gave everything in defense of this nation. And when it is defaced, it is not just an attack on property, it is an attack on the values of this country. So let me be clear. The City of San Diego is working closely with Mount Soledad leadership to ensure that those who did this are held accountable. We will find you and we will hold you, bring you to justice. So with that, today we remember, we recommit, and we raise our voices in gratitude to those who sacrificed and to their families and those who shoulder the weight of that sacrifice every single day. May God bless our fallen heroes, may God bless their families, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gloria, for being here, always supporting the Mount Soledad Veterans Memorial and our San Diego veterans. We sure appreciate it. Offering flowers and wreaths at a memorial site is a solemn and formal ritual that occurs internationally, symbolizing the beauty and the brevity of life. Here in the United States, not long after the Civil War ended, communities across the war-torn South, but also the North, began to pay homage to their fallen heroes by visiting and decorating graves with flowers that were abundant in the springtime when blossoms are new and most plentiful. Making Memorial Days, or as they were called back then, Decoration Days, solemn and widely observed occasions. Decoration Day evolved into what we now commemorate as Memorial Day, a day to remember and honor the men and women of all conflicts that have sacrificed their lives in military service of our country, much like the memorial that stands before you all today, honoring those from the Revolutionary War all the way to today's conflicts. Today, trustees Bill Walker, Marine Corps veterans Edita McCoskey, they're placing the wreath upon the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial to honor and commemorate those brave warriors who paid the ultimate price in sacrifice. Oh, if you'd all please stand, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. And please remove any hats you might have on. Military leaders, hand salute. The rest of us will put our hands over our hearts. And now if you'll please be seated. All right. Thank you very much. We are fortunate again to have some great speakers today. First up is Rear Admiral Justin Kubu. He graduated from the Citadel with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration and was commissioned through the Naval ROTC program in 1995. He earned a Master's of Science degree in Operations Research from the Naval Postgraduate School and a Master's of Arts degree in National Security and Strategic Studies from the U.S. Naval War College. Rear Admiral Kubu's sea duty assignments include tours on the USS Cole and the USS Lassen. He commanded the USS Chaffee, USS Princeton, and Amphibious Squadron 7. Ashore, he served on the C&O staff as campaign analyst in multiple divisions. He was also the director for fleet training at Surface Warfare Schools Command in Newport, Rhode Island. Executive Assistant to Commander, Naval Surface and Mine War Fighting Development Center, and Director for Operations on the staff of Commander U.S. Pacific Fleet. Please welcome Admiral Kubu.
Good morning. Thank you, Jason. Good morning to USS Cole Gold Star family members, sailors of the USS Cole, Mayor Gloria, Representative Peters, Councilmember LaCava, Judge Murray, Chief Logan, Chief Wall, ladies and gentlemen. Today we come together to honor the sailors we lost and to recognize the courage and resilience of the Cole's crew on that tragic day. We especially remember one of our own, Seaman LaKiba Palmer, a proud San Diegan whose sacrifice remains etched in our hearts. On October 12, 2000, 17 brave lives were lost when the Cole was attacked by terrorists. 17 of our shipmates paid the ultimate price. 17 sailors, 17 people who were sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, partners and friends. 17 men and women who, like many of us here, took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. 17 families grieving lost loved ones. Nearly 25 years have passed, but their legacy remains. Their loss pains us, but their sacrifice resonates. At the USS Cole Memorial Service, President Clinton said the deaths of those sailors serve as a reminder that even in times of peace, we risk our lives every single day by serving our country. For surface warriors all over the world, that sentiment still rings true today. As we speak, I represent a surface Navy which has been engaged in combat the last 19 months. 5 of our San Diego homeported ships have sailed over the horizon. They've been shot at and engaged by Houthi rebels in the southern Red Sea and the western Gulf of Aden. The attack on Cole reminds us that in war or peace, operating or training, we must always be vigilant. In the face of terror, we must uphold the tenets of our profession: honor, courage, and commitment. That's exactly what the crew of the Cole did almost 25 years ago, for many grueling days after. Responding to a surprise attack, the crew had no idea of what was waiting for them. Flooding, spewing fuel, potential electrical shock, shipmates pinned to the wreckage. Without hesitation, they pushed past the shock and fear, even as the threat of follow-on attacks loomed, to save their ship and each other. Spearheaded by the Herculean efforts of their executive officer and command master chief, who I am honored and privileged to be joining today, Captain Chris Peterschmidt and Master Chief James Parlier. Sleepless and grieving, they did what had to be done to save their ship. They secured dangerously exposed electrical equipment They recovered trapped shipmates and provided critical first aid. They waded through fuel-laden waters to rig dewatering pumps. Fear never overcame their resolve. Giving up was never an option. After containing the initial damage, the crew pressed on, relentlessly and tirelessly for nearly 2 weeks. While their extensive damage control training provided a critical foundation, it was their ingenuity and quick thinking that truly made the difference. When a critical setback struck, the failure of watertight seals that once held strong, water surged into a main engine room, threatening to overwhelm the ship. Without hesitation, the crew took decisive and bold action. They cut a hole in a hull, creating an emergency outlet for dewatering pumps to keep the rising waters at bay. This technique isn't in a book. It's not just a technical fix. It was a life-saving act of innovation born from deep knowledge of their ship and their systems. The swift response stopped what could have been catastrophic progressive flooding. With grit and tenacity, they kept Cole afloat and ensured their ship could sail home. Thanks to their heroic efforts, Cole was repaired, restored, and has since deployed many times over, continuing her proud legacy of that fateful day to include a combat deployment that concluded last year. In October, Cole fired interceptors against a barrage of more than 200 Iranian ballistic missiles. This is literally hitting a bullet with a bullet outside our atmosphere. Quite bluntly, Cole's efforts saved lives and carried her storied legacy forward. I am proud to be a Cole plank owner, and for those non-Navy folks in the audience, it means that I was there when she was being built and was part of her original commissioning crew, the first tranche of sailors to man her rails and bring the ship to life. The USS Cole and its crew, both past and present, are true symbols of American fortitude. They inspire us as a Navy and a nation to never give up. We can only continue that tradition by learning from those who went before us. That's why the Cole's heroic efforts are now memorialized in our approach to damage control training. The 12-hour Cole scenario within the larger battle station trainings at Great Lakes Boot Camp ingrains damage control response in sailors before they even set foot on a ship. That simulation puts every Navy recruit in a demanding environment, preparing them for potential dangers like those Cole sailors persevered through. And those standards are reinforced throughout the fleet with rigorous training cycle, requiring entire crews to train as they fight, as those on Cole fought that day. That fighting spirit lives on in every general quarters alarm as sailors take to their battle stations to defend their ship. It's there every time a sailor suits up with a self-contained breathing apparatus, handles a fire hose, and battles a blaze at sea. It's present during training and enforcing sentry duties to protect the ship and the crew, and standing watch throughout the night so that others may sleep soundly. It lives in the steady, demanding work done daily, even when no threat is visible. A threat was tragically revealed that day, but in true American form, our nation's response was an emboldened generation. There are probably sailors and service members here today who cite the Cole as one of their motivations to serve, whether by personal proximity to the crew or simply calling to defend our nation from the emerging threat the attack foreshadowed. Acts of terrorism aim to inspire fear, chaos, and create unrest. Instead, these terrorists meet failure due to American resolve. This tragic event galvanizes countless Americans to join the world's greatest Navy, a Navy that faces threats head-on with unrivaled toughness, a signal to the world that we will not be deterred by terrorism. Shipmate, self, we live by that code. It's a way of life in the Navy that inspires action. To our service members, remember the sacrifices of those who went before you and honor their legacies by learning from their stories. Embody the Cole's fighting spirit by continuing the tradition of toughness, readiness, and warfighting. As we honor these heroes, we also recognize the resilience of their families, the loved ones who carry the memory with dignity and pride. Thank you for joining me here today in honoring our fallen shipmates. Let me wrap up with this. Atop of the tomb of the unknown Revolutionary War soldier in Philadelphia is engraved these words: Freedom is a light for which many have died in darkness. Today and all days, reflect and remember. Remember Seaman Lakiba Palmer. Remember the determined warriors of USS Cole. Thank you. May God bless you, and may God bless America.
Okay, Captain Chris Peterschmidt is a retired U.S. Navy officer whose distinguished 30-year career was marked by exceptional leadership, resilience, and service during pivotal moments in modern naval history. Throughout his career, Captain Peterschmidt held numerous leadership positions, including commanding officer of USS Pinckney, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer. One of the defining moments of Captain Peterschmidt's career occurred on October 12, 2000, when he served as the executive officer aboard USS Cole. In the immediate aftermath, Captain Peterschmidt played a crucial role in damage control efforts, coordinating with Command Master Chief and medical personnel to treat the wounded and to stabilize the ship. Please welcome Captain Chris Peterschmidt.
Good morning. As we're here to remember San Diego native Lakiba Palmer and her shipmates who were killed in a terrorist attack on the USS Cole, many of you are also remembering someone who died in the service of our country. For me, and perhaps for you, today is a heavy day. It can also be a day of reflection, remembrance, and possibly a day of inspiration as we remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Last year, like many years before that, my wife Betsy and I would start our Memorial Day with a community breakfast in our San Diego neighborhood and watch a small parade. Then we'd make our way to Mountain Hope Cemetery to visit Lakiba. We'd plant a flag and I would spend some time in quiet reflection remembering her. Then we'd wander among the final resting places of our other veterans and read their names. Today, for this Memorial Day, I'm very honored to be with all of you, especially with Lakiba's family. I remember then Seaman Apprentice Palmer when she landed on our ship in the Mediterranean. James and I always made a point of greeting our new sailors when they arrived and getting to know them. I remember that day with her. In the days that followed, as XO of the Cole, I did daily inspections of the messing and berthing, and I'd often run into her in her first assignment in the galley. All new sailors who rotated into our services division soon after their arrival. She became a thriving, energetic member of our crew. We were a typical crew in the Navy. I think what made us a little different is that we learned to work together to overcome challenge after challenge in our pre-deployment training. And in many ways, large and small, we supported each other. No one was ever left behind or felt not to be part of the crew. On that day, when we arrived in Yemen, we'd been out to sea for 3 weeks straight, and we're just stopping in Yemen for a quick refueling before heading in further into the Middle East. I was especially thrilled to watch Lieutenant J.G. Andrew Triplett drive our ship into port. Andrew, who was a prior enlisted engineering officer, was working on his bridge qualifications and was his first conning officer opportunity. He was anxious but professionally excited to be in this important role. That was the last time I saw Andrew, and with him, I'll never forget his smile and his summer whites on the bridge that morning. When we arrived at our refueling island, the crew all got busy doing some important maintenance while our engines and radars were shut down. Lakiba was in the galley helping prepare lunch. We had many engineers in our engine rooms conducting maintenance, and James and I held an impromptu meeting in our classroom to talk about some berthing improvements and other ways to help the crew. Then at 11:20 that morning, as some crew members were lining up for lunch and chiefs were returning to the CPO mess, we were attacked amidships. The explosion was felt very strongly in our classroom where James and I were. Talking to the FBI later, the charge is approximately 500 to 700 pounds of C4. It lifted the ship out of the water and pushed her over to the side. The ship also whipped up and down from stem to stern, with some of the crew being pushed into the overhead at the stern of the ship. It punched a very large hole, about 40 by 60 feet, into the ship, and the blast wave almost went out the other side, at the broadest part of our ship. In addition, it destroyed several large fuel tanks, and the blast wave carried fuel into the ship. The blast also destroyed our food supply and most of our water. James and I had both been around the block before, or at least we thought that, but we had never experienced anything like this. As we made our way forward towards the blast, the ship listing to the side, and my heart and stomach just sank. It meant we were taking on tons of water, and we weren't riding back up. The heeling over just kept coming and coming. We tried to go up the port or damaged side of the ship, but saw a crew closing hatches ahead of us as a rolling cloud of smoke made its way down the passageway. We retraced our steps, crossed over to the other side of the ship, and again tried going forward. There we were met by dozens of crew members coming at us from all directions. Some coming in from the outside, soot-covered, eardrums burst, others coming from the blast area with shrapnel wounds. Making my way forward from there to my general quarters station, I saw our first ad hoc triage area being set up in an admin office. It became clear to me then that the main medical and MESTEX facilities where we had trained to provide urgent care were likely in the blast area. Just as I was approaching my GQ station, which was the Engineering and Damage Control Center, I saw crew members helping our acting Damage Control Chief Petty Officer. He was trying to get to this center to help me and collapsed before getting there. I went down to my knees to help him, but he told me in very direct and clear language that only a U.S. Navy Chief Petty Officer can say, words that I won't repeat here, but I'll summarize. Go to your GQ station, sir, exclamation point. So I went, and I got to this control center where fortunately it still had power. Much of the ship didn't, so I started to take it all in. The flooding and fire alarms were all activated in our engineering spaces and other parts of the ship. I made note of what our list was, the fact that we still had a generator running, which was a miracle in itself, but the fuel system for it was shut down. We had no fire main pressure. That was to be expected given the ruptures in our piping. But like so much that day, ship design and lessons from World War II offered a way to get that pressure back. I tried to get a hold of the captain, but couldn't. Most of our communications were down. With our chief engineer, Deb Courtney, focused on maintaining power and getting pumps online, I turned to figuring out the damage and how to both control the massive flooding and get our fire main pressure back. so that we could either fight a fire or start dewatering. But I needed eyes to figure this out. So as crew members arrived in the station, some walking wounded, I sent them out with these message pads to certain parts of the ship to document what they saw and quickly come back for their next assignment. Slowly, we started to build a picture of the extent of the damage. 2 of our 4 engine rooms were flooded, with the other 2 having multiple leaks into the spaces. If we were to stay afloat, we had to hold the line at keeping these 2 remaining engine rooms from flooding. I also received my first report from an eyewitness that the damage was due to a deliberate attack. Somewhere in this process, I got in contact with the captain. He said he would take over defense of the ship and an ad hoc forward triage station. He asked me to take over damage control and aft triage. Once I had communications established to our remaining 2 repair lockers and fire main restored with a plan in place, I then went to work on getting our wounded taken care of. I went forward to the interior side of the blast, close to the galley, and was just stunned at what I saw. Tangled metal everywhere, darkness, fuel dripping from the ceiling and puddling at our feet, and our sailors leapfrogging to rescue the wounded in this blast zone. We then started to move the wounded outside to the flight deck, where the crew under James's leadership provided initial care. Fortunately, while we had lost our main medical facility, we had enough distributed supplies to handle this mass casualty event. I'm not going to discuss our triage efforts, but as many of you know, especially our first responders, that this takes a special group of heroes. For us, our crew, and our 2 chief corpsmen, Cliff Mosier and James Parlier, they achieved amazing results under very difficult conditions, ultimately treating over 39 wounded sailors in that golden hour. The next step was to get the wounded to a better treatment facility. One of the many challenges that day was the loss of our exterior communications to headquarters and to others. We got lucky with an American government representative who was in Aden, heard the attack from across the harbor, jumped into a boat to come help us, almost got shot by us, and went on to assist us with local and international communications. We came up with the best plan at that point, which is to take the wounded to the limited Aden hospital. With no gangway or connection to the pier, our chief bosun mate, Eric Kafka, who was also injured, came up with a plan to take this big, very heavy ACOM ladder from the outboard side of the ship, and with the help of dozens of sailors, move it across the ship, angle it down to the pier, such that we could slide stretchers down one by one to the pier below. Once there, a steady group of small boats were used to transport the wounded to the hospital. This was all in the first hour. In the hours that followed, the Aden Hospital requested additional blood supplies for our wounded sailors. As you know, our main medical was demolished, but thankfully we had those heavy government standard metal filing cabinets. I think, many of you may know the type. And there stood these cabinets, despite the damage all around them. Inside were the undamaged medical records of our 292 crew members, including their blood type. Knowing who was at the hospital, we then matched walking donors to the wounded shipmates. So off to the hospital this group went. Meanwhile, the remaining crew struggled to save the ship. We knew who went to the hospital and needed to get a full accounting of the status of everyone else. Over several hours, we came up with a list of the missing, duty status unknown crew members, which was breathtaking. We then tried to do our best to determine where they were last seen and try to get to them. We knew several sailors had swam out through the hole in the ship as the only way out of flooded compartments. and redoubled our efforts to scan the bay. We also had one last wounded sailor in the galley, whom dozens of our crew members were desperately trying to free from the debris. This trapped sailor was carrying food from the serving line to a different part of the galley when the blast occurred. What saved her life was a freestanding oven, which shielded her from the blast. But then subsequently, the oven fell over on her and pinned her to the deck. With jaws of life and block and tackle gear, the crew were finally able to free her, and she was subsequently evacuated. That afternoon, a French medical plane arrived in Aden and treated our most severely wounded on the runway. While we did receive a Marine fast platoon to help augment our security, we were largely on our own for the next 3 days as other ships sprinted to get to us. In that time, we suffered a number of damage setbacks, little food, and poor living conditions. But the crew never gave up. Even when at one point we lost our remaining generator and one of our shorter bulkheads gave way, flooding one of our almost dewatered engineering spaces, causing us to sink further into the water. Our flashlight batteries were largely all depleted, and despite all this, hour after hour, day after day, our sailors went into the dark, flooded compartments and fought to keep the sea back. Finally, the first U.S. ship arrived, and were allowed to bring in supplies to us. All we asked for initially was food. We were starving. This crew from the arriving ship took their entire lunch meal and sent it to us by small boat. And to this day, I think speaking on behalf of the crew, we have never had better food than that Navy standard chili mac that arrived that day. I think that was when I saw the first smile of hope with our crew. Weeks later, with the help of many, many teams, the USS Cole left Yemen. Today, the USS Cole continues to provide valuable service to our country. As I close today, I thought I'd offer two stories among so many of the crew. These two individuals received the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for Heroism. First is for Chris Regal here in the audience. I have this vague memory of him running by me at some point with a fire axe, and a fleeting thought that, well, most of the ship is steel, so I wasn't sure what he was going to do with that fire axe. Well, he discovered that many of our chiefs are trapped in the chief's mess, but he knew where there was a soft bulkhead into the space and proceeded to use said fire axe in creating an opening and getting inside to start first aid. Later, for days, he worked tirelessly in flooding main engine number 2 to shore up bulkheads and seal cracks, despite a great risk to himself, and prevented it from flooding. At one point, using a cutting torch to open a hole to allow for more dewatering when we had lost power, as he is wading in water and fuel up to his waist. The second person is Hector Figueroa. He got to the epicenter of the blast zone quickly and saw a hatch leading down to several rooms below. He heard rushing water and called down to see if anyone was there. He thought he heard a faint cry for help. So down he went, flashlight in his teeth. When he got to the next level down, he was up to his knees in water, looked around and saw no one. But he saw another hatch in the deck with water coming over it, flooding down into the space below. So down he went again, water now pouring over him. This time, he didn't get far as the water level was pretty high in the space below. So he cast off from the ladder and began to swim to search and found 2 injured shipmates. He helped them to get up to that next level where it's a little bit safer, and then left to get more help. As Hector told me that day, he didn't know how to swim when he joined the Navy. But thanks to some coaching, he barely passed the boot camp test for being able to stay afloat. He said the training he got was just enough for him to overcome his fear. So in closing, I want to highlight this crew. It was not the captain, myself, or James who saved the ship, but it was the crew. The crew decided, despite all of their losses and all of their hardships, that they wouldn't give up their ship. They lost 17 shipmates, but they weren't going to give up on what they stood for. And that mission for these determined warriors continues to this day. Thank you for being here to honor Seaman Lakiba Palmer, her shipmates, their families, and all those who you remember personally on this somber day. Maybe today, while heavy, with all of us sharing this common bond, can feel a bit lighter. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Captain Peter Schmidt, for your memories of that tragic day in October of 2000. That was really something. Okay, Command Master Chief James G. Parlier is a retired U.S. Navy Master Chief, Hospital Corpsman, and Command Master Chief with a distinguished 28-year career marking leadership, resilience, and service during critical moments in naval history. Following the attack, Parlier played a crucial role in analyzing the incident and providing recommendations to improve naval medical response and shipboard emergency preparedness. His insights led to changes in medical equipment placement, emergency protocols, and training programs across the fleet. Please welcome Master Chief James Parlier.
Well, Chris, that's going to be hard to follow. Good afternoon. A little louder. Good afternoon. All right, we're all awake. I want to make sure we're still going strong here. I tell you, it's an honor to have served with the sailors of Cole. And before I start, I'd like those sailors and their families to please stand up, and let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. These are the real heroes. Thank you. Well, I don't have paper in hand. I'm like an old mass chief. I'll speak from the heart and the head. So, Chris and I had talked about this, and I want to make sure I didn't kind of cover everything he did, but it's kind of hard in some places not to. But I'm going to tell you, when we were back there after we were attacked in that meeting, which was for TVs, by the way, with MWR rep, our DC-1 Garcia. And the irony of it was I was near my GQ station, and Petty Officer Garcia was right near Repair 3. Well, that was his locker. It's like a little fire station for some that don't know what a repair locker is. So when the blast happened, just like Chris had told you, we responded. And I tell you, time really changes when that happens. All I remember is Chris had got on the IVIX phone, it's an internal phone to the ship, and it was dead, and he says, pass by word of mouth, go to general quarters. So now, after he explained all the damage that he just went over, here we are on a $1 billion warship, and we have no technology, none. So that's why our sailors train the way they do today. And for Lakiba, her legacy lives on. I want the family to know that. Miss McDaniels, who lost her son, and others also know that, because what we learned from that attack is their legacy. Whether it's damage control, medical, anything that we had to deal with during those days after, which, by the way, we spent, what, Chris, close to a month out there. And we were all by ourselves for a long time because the nearest Navy ships were 1,000 nautical miles away. So our rear ends were sticking out there, and we had to protect ourselves and save our ship. So I responded in my GQ station, which I agreed with our doc. We had an independent duty corpsman named Cliff Mosier, and I didn't even know if he was alive. But I remember when I went to that GQ station at the aft battle dress station, there was 20 casualties there, right by the laundry room. And here comes Baby Doc Campbell, we called her then. And then we had a corpsman striker, Seaman Sanchez. We were blessed to have us all there to be able to do triage. We had fractured jaws, shrapnel wounds, temporary blindness, but it was amazing because I didn't have to do anything, neither did Baby Doc, because the crew was well trained. And again, the crew trained and trained and trained, and that's what saved lives, and that's what saved our ship all those days after. Another thing to add to what Chris had said was when things finally got under control as far as the flooding, and we were listing pretty bad, and we were worried about losing the ship with tons of water inside, fuel oil inside, worried about a fire breaking out. We were dumping AFFF down into hatches to protect us because we just didn't know what was next, and worrying about another attack because those SOBs over there were celebrating. They wanted us dead. They were armed. It's a third world country. All of them were armed. So it was a very dangerous environment we were in, obviously. But that third night out was hell. The crew couldn't sleep inside the ship, obviously, because 3/4 of it had no power. A lot of it was damaged. And so those that were resting, others were down still doing damage control efforts. And the word got passed by the XO and the captain that we need to bail her out. We're losing her. So picture this, 3 in the morning, you have all the crew that's capable lining up all the way down below trying to bail out an 8,500-ton ship. Right, sir? Because we were not going to give her up. We were not. The bravery of this crew is incredible. Matter of fact, Fireman Tony over here and Chris Regal, they were down below and helped save the ship that night because we had lost the shaft seal in that port shaft, and we were flooding like you wouldn't believe. They were key. So was everybody else. But those 3 nights afterward, those guys were celebrating. The Yemeni were celebrating over there. And there was leadership challenges with that. I really think they wanted to degrade the crew and knock us down. I'm going to tell you what, we wanted to knock the hell out of them. Believe me, we were ready to fight. Right? You know exactly what I'm talking about out there. Well, all these years that I've spoke as their Master Chief, I speak about them. They're the heroes and what they did and what Chris just explained about not giving up. Because I've been to Annapolis several times. And there's that flag that's still there, the flag of our Navy history that says, don't give up the ship. Because that's who we are. That's who we are as Americans, all the way back to the days of the USS Constitution, which sits in Boston. And those years up to now, that's who we are as Americans. That's who we are as sailors and Marines. Because this ship is named after a Marine, Darrell S. Cole, served in Iwo Jima, received the Medal of Honor. What a prouder thing to have on and serve on. And then our call sign of all things, determined warrior. That's who we were. And we were operating, once our ships got there, under Operation Determined Response. And oh, by the way, Chris, going back to the Chillimack, when those ships got there, I knew the Command Master Chief on USS Hawes. And they came on our ship on a rib boat, and he says, James, what do you need? And I served 2 tours with the Marine Corps. And I knew out in the field, if you got hot chow, you were re-energized. I said, Chili Mac. And by God, you know what? Hoorah, Marines back there, you know what I'm talking about? They were recharged. The morale was something else. And it took little stuff like that to get our spirits up. There was a line after all this. We were covered in blood and soot. And somebody had jerry-rigged the aft decon station. And there were sailors standing there with ditty bags. And I heard somebody in the decon station whistling and taking a shower. But that's the drive we had as sailors on coal. We picked each other up. We kept each other motivated. Because again, that's who we are as Americans, and that's who we are as sailors. And I am so proud to have served with them in all those days after. Well, the last story, I'll leave you with this. When we finally got towards the end, after Operation Determined Response kicked in, FBI is now on board. This is a crime scene. And by the way, we're still dealing with that because we still have one bad guy down, for some of you that may not know it, in Gitmo, in Guantanamo Bay. His name's al-Nashri. And I've been going down there for 15 years. And believe me, we all want to see this chapter in that end. And that guy get what he deserves, along with the 9/11. But when we got ready to get her out of there, and correct me if I'm not right, XO, I'm going to call you XO right now. But the crew was so driven that they got that starboard shaft to work and were able to get the engines to work enough so we could get our ass out of there if we needed to, on our own. Now that's something else. That is, and you got to be proud of this crew, I tell you. What a comeback. So we get ready to pull out, and I'm up on the, I believe I'm up there on the bridge wing with you, XO, and we're playing American music as we're exiting port with some tugs by us. And the Yemeni Coast Guard's rending honors, and the captain has got this patriotic music playing. Well, as soon as we got past that, somebody, and I believe it was IC3 Croft, played American Badass by Kid Rock. And you should have saw the XO. It was asshole and elbows running down back to the fantail to have him shut that off. Well, I'm going to tell you what, really a good thing came out of that, because we found out that time in our history that Kid Rock was a patriot, because he came and visited the ship in Norfolk, or the crew, while the ship was being repaired in Pascagoula. And he actually had a concert. I believe you had to go there, didn't you, XO? So he saw the waving finger, the little midget, everything. Oh, I can't imagine. But he was something else. So we got to meet Kid Rock, but he gave all that money, if I'm not mistaken, to the families who lost their loved ones, so that their kids could go to college or use that money as needed. And so, should I say, did Faith Hill and Tim McGraw did the same thing. But our legacy is just as told by the Admiral. And that is, when I was stationed in Great Lakes as my last tour of duty as Command Master Chief of the base and for the region, myself and a couple of my shipmates were there, and we were able to provide input for the USS Traer, which is a smaller size destroyer inside a building where battle stations is done, where sailors learn to fight the ship before they put their Navy ball caps on. And then all the other lessons learned that I explained. And lastly, to the Kibas family, I got to speak to her before she left this earth. She was working, my office was right there on the chow line, and she'd come by missing her daughter, and so we'd close the door and sit and have a heart-to-heart talk. And she'd get reinvigorated. I did the old Master Chief, remotivate, and she did a heck of a job, and I'm proud of her. And, you know, we lost males and females in that. And this is the first combatant that actually had females on board. Another thing that we could be proud of, 60 females, if I'm not mistaken. So again, please today keep the Cole crew and their families in prayer as we deal with this trial, but also keep everybody in your families and anybody out here that has lost a loved one, whether it's in combat or not, in your prayer as we remember those and memorialize those today. I thank you, Mayor. I thank everybody up here for having us here. Being an old North Carolinian, I thank all of you in uniform that serve and wear that uniform today, because I can sleep in bed at night in North Carolina and know I'm safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Command Master Chief Parlier. Wow. Anybody else fired up? That was completely off the cuff, no script. That was just him. Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for sharing. Wow. I think I'm ready to enlist. Okay. We are now going to have we're going to unveil a plaque replica that the audience can view after the ceremony. The actual plaque is located on wall JJ on the southeast wall of the memorial. It's designed with an honor display on top of the wall. Admiral Kubu, Captain Peter Schmidt, Master Chief Parlier, Cole sailors, their family and friends are being joined by Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial President Phil Kendrow and Executive Director Neil O'Connell. As they reveal the plaque, Ron Allison will play Amazing Grace. Okay, to finish up our ceremonies today, I'd like to introduce Phil Kendrow. He is the president and CEO of the Mount Soledad Memorial Association. He served with the board since 2016. He served 20 plus years in the Marine Corps. He sits on the San Diego County Military and Veterans Advisory Council, San Diego Veterans Day Parade Committee, and is co-founder of the Veterans Beer Club. All right, Phil's two children, Brandon and Alex, are here in the audience too. Join me in welcoming Phil to the podium. I got a rise out of that one.
I don't know why everybody always laughs about the Veterans Beer Club. You have to go there sometime, but I appreciate it. Hey, can I get a please big round of applause for Jason for first time up here too? A great supporter of the memorial. We really do. We're happy to have you up here to actually get to speak with us this time. That's awesome. We couldn't do this event without some amazing donation sponsor, and we're a little bit over time, so I really do appreciate all of our sponsors and everybody's out there, because I'm trying to cut it short for you all. All of our elected officials, Mary Gloria, Congressman Peters, good friend, Jordan Marks up here, Judge Peter Murray, Councilman Cava, all of our chiefs up there. General Hyman didn't get to talk with you yet. Welcome here, sir, to San Diego again. All of our military leaders, appreciate that. And all of our speakers, thank you so much for being here today. To all the Marines from Marine Corps Recruit Depot, hoorah. Oh, I like it. It's awesome. And thanks also Finest City Entertainment. Our team here at Mount Soledad, Denise, Becky, Brianna, Tanisha, Trevor, our executive director, Neil, thank you for leaning forward so much to make this memorial how amazing it is. I appreciate that. And the Salute Formation team. We have so many awesome guests out here today, too. They're here, our World War II heroes. We have our World War II greatest generation over there, I think, today. Yes, right there. Randy Tinmore. She's 103 years young, and she is awesome. There she is right there in the red jacket, ladies and gentlemen. We got to celebrate her 103rd birthday with her recently. It was amazing, my daughter and I. Any Korean veterans out there? Korean War veterans right here. I know Silver Star recipient right there, too. My Vietnam veterans out there. Big round of applause. We're so glad that we give you the proper return home in the last few years. Any of our Gold Star family members, can you please rise as well, too, please? We here at the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial will never forget your sacrifice and are ever honored to be in your presence. So for our annual large ceremonies, I think it's been important to find a poem, a piece of literature, a prayer to end our ceremonies, and I found this one. To the members of those lost upon the USS Cole, thanks for standing for freedom still. Your sailors played a role. There is a war, though not declared, a war exists today. That war is between two rivals and all that stands in their way. And men may fall in the battle as the war continues, you see. A war with unspoken wars and men, and a battle to be free. America is always at war, it seems, protecting the red, white, and blue. To you today I give my thanks, this poem I write to you. With valor these sailors have now died, with sacrifice to this land in their soul, with love of freedom and God's up above, they'll be there on heaven's roll. Sailors of the USS Cole. Ladies and gentlemen, we're almost finished. Here's one of my favorite parts of this ceremony as well, is we're going to get Marine Band San Diego to play the Armed Forces Medley. If you're currently active duty or a veteran, can you please stand when you hear your service anthem? Marine Band San Diego. United States Army. United States Navy. Coast Guard. Air May Coast Guard. There we go. Air Force. All right, let's see. Anybody from the Space Force this time? Everybody still laughs. There's going to be a space. Is there anybody from Space Force here? Marines, thank you so much. You make our ceremonies truly memorable. Supervisor Desmond, I forgot to mention you too. I'm sorry, Jim. A good friend. I've known you for way too long. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed both a memorable and educational experience. And many reasons we must not just commemorate this day, but every day in our life to the fullest on behalf of those who are no longer with us. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. At the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial, we will always remember the sacrifice of our service members, veterans, and families. Thank you for being with us today, and God bless America.